The MacVoices Live Commencement Address, Part 3. This is MacVoices. This edition of MacVoices is supported by the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter to keep you up on all the latest from MacVoices. Watch or listen to MacVoices straight from your email client. Sign up at macvoices.com/newsletter and stay up to date. This is the third and final part of our MacVoices Live Commencement Address, where our panel offers their insights and advice to those graduating from high school or college this year. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. All right, so I guess it's my time. I think my second one might spill over a little bit into some of the things some of the other folks have said, but I don't think it's said it quite the same way. But my first thing, I guess my first thing is a bit more pragmatic. You're coming out of school somewhere, at some level, and sooner or later, that you may be going to more school, or you may be, you may be going into the working world. So I want to encourage you to do the basics and get the basics right. And it seems like this is something that doesn't get focused on much. Something as simple as get yourself a calendar, get yourself a contact book or an address book, and the best one in the world right now, you've got a better one than any of us have ever had before, right here in your hand. Remember, make notes of all the people you meet, because you never know where you're going to meet them again. Something as simple as just be on time or be early. You can set an alarm real easy on your phone to remind you that, hey, I'm supposed to be at this appointment, or I'm supposed to be on this Zoom call, or I've got to make that phone call or whatever. It's those little things that they seem like so minor, but they will distinguish you. I'm appalled at the number of people I know that are just habitually late. That's just the way they live their lives, and and to my way of thinking, that shows no respect for the other people they're interacting with. They're saying that their time is more important than anything. And most of the people I'm thinking about, their time is definitely not worth more than my time. If it's a president or something of that nature, maybe their time is worth more. And we all know that emergencies happen and situations occur. But if you develop that reputation for being early, being on time, then when those things do happen, it will suddenly seem like the aberration that it is. That sounds so simple, but just, showing up and doing some of those basic things will put you in a good place. And I push toward that because I think that being successful, whatever that means, whether it's happiness or money or position or whatever, it's a lot more fun to be successful, and it gives you a lot more opportunities then to do everything that the folks here have talked about. Creating those balances, doing things you want the way you want to do them. So, just adopt some of the basics and it will serve you well. I don't care what you're doing. Whether you're going on to higher education or whether you're going into the working world, it'll make a huge difference. The second one I really struggled with because there's several I'd like to put in position number 2, but I think that one of the things I've learned is that I want to take advantage of every opportunity to do something, to learn something, to be exposed to something. You may not like it. You may find that whatever it is that you've exposed yourself to, you don't care for it. That's great. You can, put that in your mental checklist of, well, I really don't want to do that. But every time you experience something, you experience it. You have something now in your saddlebag that says, hey, I did that one time, or I tried that one time. And so whether it's, something like riding a horse or going water skiing or jumping out of an airplane or whatever, if you get the chance to do it, if you get the chance to meet someone, even if you have nothing to say to them, by all means meet them, because they're humans too. And it sounds so simple, but it's kind of profound when you get a little farther down the road and realize, gee, I could have done this, I could have done that. I wish I had. Or you're sitting in a business meeting, or you're sitting in an interview and somebody says, have you ever? And you can say, yeah, I did. I didn't do it for long, or I didn't do much of it, but I remember doing that. And so you end up being able to relate to more people about more things. You become a broader person, And I think, in my opinion, a happier person because you've had those experiences. And so at the very least, you have fewer regrets because you don't have to look back and say, gee, I wish I should have. I wish I could have. Maybe I should have done that. Those are my two big ones. I don't know how you guys feel about those, because I think, Mark, some of that spills over a little bit into what you were saying. Jeff, I think some of it spills over into yours as well.
So, Chuck, I would point out, your second point dovetails into one thing that it's really the importance of relationships. And one, it's good to form genuine, open, honest, bilateral, beneficial relationships, because they pay returns. It may not be 2 hours from now. It may be 2 weeks, 2 years, 2 decades from now. But staying in touch with people and building good working, good personal relationships with people is important. And maybe just to score that and underline it is, we all know somebody who you never want to work with them, because nothing is ever two-way. They always go, they always seem to get it. They always seem to get the best of anything that you do, and you don't want to be that person. You want to be a little bit more collegiate. And then I think maybe the other thing on that is personal relationships last longer and change slower than technology does. Technology changes every couple of years. Personal relationships will go on, much longer. So if you're doing that, for success in the workplace or for a personal relationship, with your friends, it's worth investing the time in people. And one thing I would say, sort of after your first part A of bunch of how-tos. The other thing I was thinking of adding in sort of a humorous way, but serious as well, is answer your phone. People use phones to screen people out and avoid people.
Good point.
Ultimately, you need human contact, and some things can't be boiled down to a short little LinkedIn message or something like that. So you need to be open to being contacted, and then ultimately, either it leads to something or it doesn't. But just don't shy away from the human contact. If that's not for you, make sure you find a job where you can absolutely minimize human contact, but you can't get away from it.
Yeah.
Chuck,
Jeff,
I extrapolated out quite a bit from your first point, which was get some sort of organizer tool and have your schedule and be early and keep track of all the people you're meeting. And I immediately extrapolated that out to, you are the creator of your integrity. Don't let anyone take that away from you.
Mine was a bit more how to, but yeah, you that is the great extrapolation, Jeff. You're absolutely right.
I'll also say on your second point, which is what I just said about learning more things, and it'll be more enjoyable in the future. You do very well as well as I do. Just spend the time. Just you want to focus on something and learn it, and if you do that, you're going to be successful. And I do that all the time, and I know you and I are very much alike when it comes to that.
I would key on Jeff's word integrity, because I think that's very important. Because in many times, especially if you're in business situations, there are always shortcuts and always things you can do. Yeah. And you only have one life. You only have one name. You only have one integrity. It takes years to build it, and if you sacrifice it, you're just flushing down the storm drain everything you've worked hard for. So unless you're able to steal $20 billion in a perfect crime, don't sacrifice your integrity.
Yeah.
I'll also add, I'll think of that too as far as for integrity and reputation is probably another word I was thinking. I've really been successful of creating my integrity and my reputation with my current role, and it's a good feeling to know that people that are out there know that they can rely on me whenever they need something, because there are some people, and we all have been in careers and worked in companies that there's people that's like, oh yeah, that person, that might be tough, and this person, oh yeah, I know I can really depend on that person to do whatever needs to get done. And I've found some good success when it comes to that, and not that I'm trying to to say I'm a great thing here, but it's true. I mean, if you don't create that reputation in your career, you're going to struggle.
Yeah. At the risk of sounding like I'm trying to tack one on, Mark, I wanted to follow up with something you said there, and maybe in a little different way. But I was super lucky because I had both parents and some really great teachers in high school who taught me that learning is fun. That I mean, there's some things that aren't going to interest you. That obviously, but just flat out learning is fun, because then you have something else at your command, or you have that experience that I was talking about. I feel so bad for the people who say, well, I've come out of college, I don't need to read anymore, I don't need to do this, do that. My God, you're just getting started. But it should be a fun thing, not a burden.
At the risk of really controversial topic, I would point out that a lot of things that used to be, or still are, very you take 3 years for a law school degree, or many years for a medical degree. That if you think about what's going on with machine learning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, some or all of those jobs can be replaced by computer algorithms. So if you're thinking about it from a career standpoint, you want to be doing things that are so unique or so oddball or so new that an algorithm can't be written to take advantage of it. Because I was listening to a podcast over the weekend, they were talking about how some set of researchers at IBM were using ML, machine learning, in lung image diagnostics, and they were going in and talking about how this is great and how this is going to eliminate the need for all these doctors. They were presenting this, to a seminar of, at a hospital of, about 24 doctors, and then and they went on and they said this, and after they said it the third time, the chairman introduced him. He says, you don't get it. You're not going to replace doctors. If you want your program to be successful, you need to present that this is a great aid to assist, the diagnostic skill of the doctor, who is the person who is seeing and treating the patient, not not a computer scanner. So, long story, just a background that again, there's sort of today a lot of highly paid white collar jobs that can be replaced. So think about what you're doing and really understand where you add value over just being a highly paid repetitive robot worker. Looking at images is sort of like screwing screws on an assembly line. If it can be replaced by a robot, it probably can be, it will. It may very well will be in certainly our or next generation's lifetime. So again, keep moving and just go to state of the art problems, because that's where all the fun is.
Mark, the number of people that I hear say, well, my job could never be replaced, is fascinating to me, because if you step back and look at their jobs, it's like, of course, 80%, 90% of your job, if not 100%, can be absolutely eliminated. And David and I've seen it in our industry, where certain aspects of it, you used to have to go to somebody, and those positions are gone. Or they've morphed so much that you barely even recognize them. And you think about the shift. I mean, we've seen it in grocery stores. We've seen it in airports. You've seen it in so many places of self-serve. And people would rather self-serve than stand in line. I'd much rather go through the automated checkout at my local supermarket than stand in line and wait for 5 people in front of me to check out. So that's a position that's going away through the use of technology, but it's still going away.
But speaking of self-service, I mean, even IT many companies are trying to look to make support more self-service than it has been in the past. When I first started, people were in the workforce for a long time until they retired, a long time ago since I've been with them. So they were more hand-holding, and now you're seeing more of these new who we're talking about today. People are going to be graduating, have already come through and learned technology. When they go to a company, and I see it now. I mean, there's these new kids that are just starting in their new roles. I talk to them to get more orientation, and that's probably the last time I'll talk to them, because they're relatively self-sufficient when it comes to technology. And again, I reiterate that's so important. It's already happening. I don't think anybody has to do it. They're already doing it.
Yeah,
I'd just say I think kids is inappropriate. It's sort of
young adults,
young adults or entry level
New additions to the workforce.
Yes,
there you go, Jeff.
That's a good one. Like
fresh meat.
Mr. Politic. Well, you blew it there. I was going to say Mr. Politically correct.
That's incorrect. No.
Yeah. Dave, you mentioned the whole thing about people coming in to your company now that don't need that same level or type of support that your IT team has historically provided.
Mm-hmm.
And where some people look at that as a threat to their job, I actually don't see it that way, because when you have these people that are coming into your company that have a higher level of comfort with the technology they're using, that frees up the IT team to take care of the stuff that they really need to be dealing with. I mean,
exactly.
You're having to deal with managing a lot of equipment and always fighting that ongoing battle with attackers that are trying to break into the network and staying ahead of them. And I mean, there's so many things that the IT team should be focusing on, but in many cases, they're having to help someone plug a mouse back into their computer.
There you go. That's a level 1 support person that should be handling something like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough of us level 2 and higher support folks in the case of technology to handle those, like you said, things that we should be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out, before we wrap up here, something that Mark said, I guess, in relation to what I said. I can look around this panel and the folks who aren't here tonight that can't be, and I can probably name just about the first time that I met each one of you. In some cases it was online, in some cases it was in person, might have been at a Macworld or another conference. But for whatever reason, those relationships fostered, developed, and now, we spend the majority of Tuesday nights together, some variation on that panel. And so, you never know who you're going to meet and where it's going to take you.
Right.
It again, some of it seems so obvious in hindsight, but I wish I had known a lot of these things or had somebody to talk to me or discuss them, somewhere along the way. So,
and even Mark said relationships; those are so important. Building those relationships. We've built our relationships with each other here today, this panel, and it's been great. And I look forward to coming here every week, and I look forward to working with all of you now. It's just like we're really good friends, and that's what this is. This is probably one of the most unique things that's ever happened in my life when it comes to what we've done here with this MacVoices Live, is the fact that we've created all these great relationships with each other.
Yeah, and we have a couple other some of us have a couple of those relationships in common on other shows with, a different set or subset of people. So, it is all about human interaction, but it doesn't necessarily have to be face to face. I mean, I feel like most of my best friends live not necessarily in my city, in my state, in some cases even in my country. But
most of my best friends aren't in my time zone.
Yeah, exactly. That's there's another demarcation, Jeff. Yeah, good.
I've felt that way for decades, but really recently it's, the technology has been great in, it used to be just phone calls. And, the online meetings has really, kicked that up a notch. And also, things like Twitter, so there's people, sometimes I talk to them face to face, sometimes I'll interact with them on Slack or Twitter. So there's this ongoing, because I've worked by myself at home for, a long time, and it was kind of isolating. And I don't really feel that way about it anymore, because of between Slack, Twitter, and Zoom.
And
you must not have all those Russian sex bots coming after you on Twitter, Jim.
That's a feature, not a bug, right?
Yeah, they line up for Jim, and they start pulling out dollar bills.
But Jim, I think that's you're absolutely right about that. I'm still intrigued by the number of people who will not or prefer not to turn their camera on when doing a Zoom meeting. And there are articles about that all over the place. But but it's like, well, then kind of what's the point? If you're not,
they're not going to ask you to close your eyes if you're talking to them in person.
Right. And even when you're talking to somebody in person, you're looking down at your notes, or you're making reference, you're getting ready to say something. So you're not just always staring, the person in the eye.
Are we in After Dark right now or not?
No, not yet.
No. Okay. Then I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that in After Dark.
All right. Hey, I want to get the chat room in here because I've intentionally left them to get the last word. So, and I'll start up a little here, but Brian said, it's always fascinating to see what the future looks like based on the era it was created. And obviously some of these comments are farther back in our conversation. Brad said the Jetsons were supposed to be 2062. It's not looking promising that we will get there in just 40 years. Not sure.
Right. I think this is the year George Jetson would be born. I'm not kidding. I'm pretty sure this is his birth year.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'd be 40. Yeah, that's interesting, Jeff. Yeah. So, and think about the last 40 years. I'm not so sure that we might not get a lot closer. And
Brian, can I take us on a tangent for a second?
Well, sure, real fast. We came pretty close. I mean, if somebody from the
2022
came here,
you got it. You nailed it, Jeff. You nailed
somebody from
2022. Yeah.
Anyway, from that long ago, if they came here and they saw us talking to computers and devices, they'd be pretty impressed. I think
they would.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. So Chuck, here's my fast tangent.
Okay.
I have seen this theory online that the Flintstones and the Jetsons are actually happening at the same time, and it's a dystopian world where the people that live up in the sky cities like the Jetsons, and the people that were left behind to suffer and just try and claw out an existence on their own, they're living on the ground, and they're living in a Stone Age environment, and that's the Flintstones.
Wow.
Okay.
How's that for a dystopian future?
I think it's more of a Doctor Strange alternate universe.
Keep moving, you fall behind.
I think it's part of the multiverse, the Hanna-Barbera multiverse.
I like that.
Brian points out that in some ways we've passed the Jetsons, and others we haven't. Good point. And then there were a couple comments here about the 64K of memory. That we'll never need more than 64K of memory.
Yeah. How'd that work out for Bill Gates?
Yeah, really. Brad says, don't try to change the whole world. First, change yourself, and the world will follow one person at a time. Interesting. Webb gave a round of applause to Carrot Top. That's
the man that ruined Allison's career.
Yeah. I could be cooking, or Barry says, I could be cooking chicken right now, but I'm giving my MacVoices my attention. And we do appreciate it, Barry.
We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry.
See, it's all about life balance.
That was probably in context to something we were talking about, but now it's just silly.
Yeah, well, no, it makes sense. Brian says, Ferris Bueller offered the advice, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you will miss it.
Bueller.
If you're a Ferris Bueller person. Yes. Let's see what else. Brad, this is a good bottom line to it. Brad says, college gives you the tools to think. Keep using the tools. You won't be given the answers. You have to come up with the answers. Be clever. Okay. Well said, Brad. Well said. Guys, I know this, for the folks tuning in on the recording, I know this is quite a bit different than our usual show, but I thought it would be interesting to see just what would come out of it. And I think a lot of great things came out of it. Technology and not technology related. Let's go around the room, let folks know where they can find you, and then we'll let, who was it, Barry? Barry get back to cooking his chicken. So let's see. I'll just take the original order. So David Ginsburg, where can folks find you? And thank you for sharing your advice.
Oh, thank you. This was a great show. Really appreciate it. You can find me at In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. We also can find me on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DaveG65. I'm also on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network on Fridays with a couple gentlemen here, as well as I'm on Twitter at DaveG65. Thanks again, John.
Thank you, David. Mark Fuccio, appreciate your sage wisdom. Where can folks get in touch with you?
On Twitter, at Mark Fuccio, MarkFuccio, all one word. And let's see what happens with Twitter going forward.
Yeah, good point, Mark. We may have to all change some of our notation.
As a backup plan B, they can get me on LinkedIn.
Great. I love it. Barry just put in the chat, where were all of you when I graduated? I could have used all this wisdom about 40 years ago. Good episode.
We were sitting in a 3-2 bar somewhere, pretending like we had all the answers and drinking crappy beer.
I was 10 years old. I don't know how old you were, but I wasn't drinking crappy beer, Ted.
All right, 40 years ago? Yeah, you're right. We were all excited because Star Wars.
16.
Oh, brother.
I was 10. I was probably playing with Transformers.
I mean, Star Wars was old by
Star Wars was 77, yeah.
77, yeah.
Look, I didn't say I was doing math well tonight.
All right, Mr. Math Whiz. Jeff Gamet, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Where can folks find you?
Apparently, they can find me in a remedial math class. But once I finish that, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Jay Gamet on both. YouTube.com/JGamet for some occasional videos, and here on Tuesdays with you. Thanks for letting me come back. And Thursdays on the Big Show, and Thursday evenings because Dave keeps letting me come back on In Touch with iOS. And then Fridays on the Mac Show. And Brian Chaffin and I have teamed up for the Context Machine. Our most recent episode, we offered our thoughts on the final episode of Season 2, Star Trek Picard, and the premiere episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds.
Is
that out yet?
It is.
Okay. I didn't show
but Jeff's seen it.
Yeah.
No, I meant the podcast.
No, it's out. It's out.
Okay.
It's in my queue, ready to listen.
Okay. I'm going to have to look. It wasn't in mine as of. Oh, there it is. Okay. I feel better. Thought I was being left out or something. Thank you, Jeff. Warren Sklar, thank you for sharing your bits of wisdom and your Rodney Dangerfield picture. Where can folks find you?
First of all, it feels a little unsettling that we didn't talk about anything really Mac related. It's going to be weird sleeping tonight, to be honest with you. But yeah, no, just wrap it up. I'm here because I like to be here. So this is not, I know you guys have, all of you have more of a podcast presence, but I'm just here because it's fun and I enjoy it. And tonight was fun too. Where can you find me? Dave, hopefully I'll be there Thursday with you. I should be, but I'm in transit to the beach. Facebook, Back to the Future group. That's about it.
Great. Thank you, Warren.
Thanks.
Last but absolutely not least, the man that started us out tonight, Mr. Jim Rea. Jim, thank you for all your sage wisdom. Where can folks find you?
Well, you can find me at provue.com, PROVUE.com, which you could have sort of found me at 40 years ago. I mean, there wasn't a website, but I've been at the same company since before that. And Twitter, ProView Jim on Twitter. And yeah, I feel like for Warren, I should say something about Macs. WWDC is coming up. Okay, we discussed Macs.
There you go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Warren will sleep better now. I definitely want to thank Brittany Smith for stopping by. I know her schedule was tight tonight, but thank you, Britt. Good to have you and your thoughts as well. And definitely thank you to the chat room. A lot of fun comments going on in there. We obviously can't cover them all, but yeah, love you guys. Love having you here every Tuesday. I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices. Once again, we do this every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We would love to have you join us and to throw your comments and thoughts into the chat room so we can kick those around and add them to our collection of information. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.